This lesson takes a look back at the different clients we've seen against web services and tries to do some comparisons and contrasts. The working file you're looking at is called Client WrapUp.txt, and it contains a summary of the main points. So let's start with something that's pretty obvious. You'd expect clients against REST-style services to be different from clients against SOAP-based services, and of course they are, and we'll get into some detail in just a moment. But even inside of REST-style services, there's variety, and we've seen two general approaches. The first approach is exemplified by the Perl client against the RAN service. So that client, you'll recall, makes a request, gets an XML document in response, and then does an explicit parse using XPath. XPath does a tree-based parse, so it's a variant of the so-called DOM parse, and Java as well has an excellent XPath library. One way to extract the information from the response document is to do an explicit parse. The exception to all of this are JavaScript clients that receive JSON documents, because JSON documents are just textual representations of JavaScript objects, so in effect, the parsing is done automatically. But we're interested in Java clients, of course. That's our primary concern. So a Java client can do an explicit parse. We've seen that in the case of the Java client against the Amazon RESTful service. But there's also a second approach, and that's to use JAX-B in order to unmarshal a document into a Java object. And then, of course, once we have the Java object, we can just use the normal Java programming idioms, get this, get that, get the other thing, in order to extract the desired information. There are some preconditions, however, for this JAX-B approach. For one thing, the service has to publish an XML schema or the equivalent. The major services out there, I'm thinking now of Amazon, eBay, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and so on. The major services all do provide the required XML schema, and we've seen the XJC utility that ships with Java does an excellent job of creating Java counterparts to those XML data types. On the client side, some of the Java frameworks, I'm thinking in particular of JAX-RS, are on the way to automating an awful lot of this, so that the XJC step, for example, can be done automatically. When you're doing a REST-style client, there is some involvement with the XML or JSON. If you're a Java client, there is going to be either the explicit parsing or the JAX-B unmarshaling. Now let's move to the SOAP side. SOAP-based services are further from the HTTP metal than their REST-style counterparts. That's a given. So you'd expect that the SOAP-based API would be a bit higher level, and I think it's fair to say that it is. In particular, on the SOAP side, the WS import utility that Java provides is just wonderful. It will read a WSDL, will generate automatically all of the required Java artifacts. So we've seen this in the case of the client against the SOAP-based Amazon e-commerce service. It's a very, very powerful service. And once you do the WS import thing, dealing with the information sent back from Amazon is relatively straightforward because you're dealing exclusively with Java. In effect, the SOAP has gone away. The JAX-WS framework, so the framework for doing SOAP-based services and clients against them, does allow tinkering with the SOAP messages if this is required, and we saw this in the handler example. So all in all, there is, in web service clients, as in almost every other part of Java, great variety. You can go the REST-style route in your service, in which case you still have some options on the client side on how to approach that service. With SOAP-based services, the same thing holds.